Big ideas in small bites. This is Bite Sized, brought to you by Accenture.
Hello and welcome to Bite Sized. Leeds Building Society is one of the UK's largest and most established building societies, providing savings and mortgages since it was founded in 1875. Their core purpose is to put home ownership within reach of more people. Whilst their core mission may not have changed for the last 150 years, they are fast becoming the pathfinder for the modern mutuals, embracing innovation and modern technology to drive the next generation of home ownership and unlocking that for more people. So I'm delighted today to be joined by Rob Howes, Chief Operating Officer at Leeds Building Society, to discuss their ongoing transformation journey. They have already successfully launched their new mortgage hub, MSO, and I know they're delighted that some customers have been able to move from application to offer in just 17 seconds, and they are now partway through their data and core platform transformation. Rob, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Can you start by setting the scene for us? What was some of the wider context and the market conditions facing the society, and why did you start on this transformation journey?
Well, thanks very much, Emma, and it's fantastic to be here today. I mean, if you roll back a few years, Leeds was a very, very traditional building society, very traditional sort of set of technologies. We'd been working, to start to modernise our mortgage journeys, starting on the journey around sort of the sort of digital savings and those types of things. But what we knew was that the core banking system, the heart of the society, the place where all of our members' money ultimately resides, did not really have a long-term future. It was fine for today, it's fine for tomorrow, it wasn't fine for the future. And we started to think very carefully about, well, what do you do about this? Do you face into the challenge of a core banking replacement, probably the scariest words that, a chief operating officer or a CIO could hear. But the more we looked at it, the more we realised we were going to have to do this. As a sort of mutually owned society, we feel we are custodians of the society, despite the market sort of turbulence at the time. Commercially, the business was doing very well. If you like, the sun was shining, and
right.
You want to fix the roof when the sun is shining, and so that was the moment that we felt we do need to face into changing our core banking system.
That's brilliant, Rob, and really helpful to understand that context. As you say, you were already on the modernisation journey. That can often be an evolution rather than a revolution. But you're facing into the wider challenge. And one of the challenges for many organisations is how do you take that leap of faith to do that, really substantial core transformation? In your case, it felt like a necessity. But what do you see as some of the benefits that will drive for Leeds?
In a sense, it is a leap of faith, but it's one we built up to very, very methodically and very slowly. Ultimately, the benefits are that the society can carry on operating into the future, that we have a platform that's sustainable, that can support the growth of the business, support the growing members. This is a business that over those last, say, 5 years has grown by 50%. We're touching on 1 million members now, past a £30 billion balance sheet. We have to have a core that can continue to sustain the business. But the other thing it gives us is really an option, a cheap option to transform the business in the future. Putting home ownership within reach of more people is why we exist, and that is going to require a whole range of sort of innovation in a difficult and challenging market. I think you can only do that on top of a technology platform that provides the flexibility, the agility, the integration capability to exploit all the innovation that's out in the market.
Right, and you've talked about building that modern digital core for the future. Often that can be seen as being the preserve of the IT teams and the IT department, but clearly in this case you're seeing it as the platform for a business transformation. How have you gone around getting everybody united around that vision and that mission?
It's been a long journey. This wasn't a sort of write a 3-month business case, pitch it, and then get on with this. This has been a journey of talking to the board, absolutely talking to the board about why this might be a good thing, slowly building confidence in both the need to do it, but also our ability to execute on doing it. It's meant talking to my colleagues in the executive team about what will happen if we don't do this, what will happen if we do it, the opportunities it brings, and slowly building collective confidence and commitment to get this done. Many conversations over many times, and then you start to hardwire it into the organisation. So it is our number one organisational priority. We only have 4 organisational priorities this year. It is the number one. It is embedded in an objective for every one of our top leaders. It's on our scorecard for the year. It is heavily wired through the organisation, and you start finding that sort of colleagues lean into the change rather than sit and watch from the sidelines. Our finance team are heavily embedded in making sure that this thing is done in a cost-efficient way. Our deputy chief executive, who looks after all our customer teams, we're about to go out on a normal annual colleague roadshow, speak to all the colleagues. He is going to be the one talking to them about the core program and what it brings. And so it's just been a journey over many years of working with people and building this collective commitment to do something that we believe is right for the society.
I like that. I was just thinking it's a collective objective, but actually it's a collective commitment.
Yes.
And clearly there's an emphasis on trying to build the excitement amongst all of the colleagues rather than any level of trepidation, although it is a
there's plenty of trepidation,
a healthy level, hopefully.
Yes, indeed.
Such a core transformation. It's a very innovative program, and you've already, embarked on an innovative transformation from application to offer in 17 seconds. How are you going around encouraging that kind of culture and spirit of innovation within the organisation, within an organisation that has obviously endured for 150 years?
It's interesting you use the word innovation, because there is some elements of innovation in what we're doing. You can see GitHub Copilot being used in some of the coding, so the use of AI in those things. But a lot of this, I think, in a way, innovation is often an overused word. A lot of what we are trying to do is, in a disciplined way, apply best practice to what we are building. And if I to be a little techie for a moment, if you look at the engineering foundations of what we are building, all the testing is fully automated. Regression test scripts are being run every hour through all the test environments. The ability to spin up environments, we've got infrastructure as code in a few hours. These things provide a foundation that ultimately will translate through into agility, the ability to integrate things into an ecosystem, to launch new products more quickly, to create new customer processes and what have you. But it's built on really strong engineering foundations, really strong application of best practice principles to what we are doing.
Right, and so much of a successful transformation is building those strong foundations that enable you to drive the business change in the future. When we think a little bit about the future, if we look forward to 2028 or 2030, what are some of the capabilities or the offerings that you would like to see members and customers be able to take advantage of in the UK?
Well, they will continue to be able to take advantage of what we would describe as best-in-class mortgage experience. You would be coupling that with a really competitive digital savings proposition that is coupled with what is already a very strong branch-based experience. Our branch colleagues do an amazing job of helping our members, helping our customers, and the ability to then do that not just in the branch channel but in digital channels, in the telephony channels. So that experience, I think, will be better. That is what they will start to see. There'll be, we, like many financial institutions, still make mistakes occasionally in what we do. There'll be fewer mistakes. We'll be able to have a slicker experience, particularly on some of the processes that are less well used, those slightly more obscure processes, but
the
nevertheless
more exceptional processes.
more exceptional things, but nevertheless are important to a member at that point. So that is what they will start to see from 28, and beyond that, I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? The future has got agents and AI and even faster application to offer potentially. Rob, what's your key piece of advice for a bank or building society, or any organisation actually, who is embarking on a similar transformation? What would you say are some of your key lessons learned so far on the journey?
One of the things that I think is a strength of the organisation is its ability to have a very clear strategic purpose. And, we're blessed with an organisation that has a stable leadership team. That then translates through to real clarity of objective around a long-term program like this, because you can't get away from the fact that this is a long-term program. You don't do these things in 3 months, you do them over multiple years. And so you've got to be prepared that it needs a real singular focus over a multi-year period, and you need to make sure that you've built the level of commitment and the level of focus for the organisation if you're going to execute it. If you get that right, then you can do all the other things that you will need to do to get this right. Make sure that you've got a really experienced team, make sure that your scope is right, you make sure that you get the right partner, make sure that you've structured the program in the right way, make sure you don't get distracted, and all of these sorts of things. But it really comes from building a singular, long-term focus commitment to doing this and doing it in the right way.
So a long-term view with the brilliant basics all in place as well. I suppose one of the challenges of successful tech and business transformation can be that balance between the future and managing the business for today. Yeah. So how are you going about making sure that you're able to deliver best in class for the business today, but also building the future that you need for the society for not tomorrow, but actually many years hence?
Yeah. A lot of what we did in the run-up to starting this was put in place the things that we needed to do. We didn't start by changing the core. We started, like many people do, by changing the things that customers touch. So we have the mortgage journeys, the digital journeys, and we fixed the sort of resilience foundations of the IT estate. So we started with a strong foundations that we knew would then see us through, several years where we wouldn't be able to do as much else as we go through. So that was the most important piece. It's not that it's the only thing we're going to do during this period. Clearly, legal or regulatory or mandatory change turns up, so we will have to do some things. But having set the business up, we believe we're set up for a period where we can dial down some of the other change in order to get this thing done.
To really focus on this collective commitment. Brilliant. Thank you, Rob. It's been absolutely fascinating talking to you about where you are on the transformation journey and how you've set up for success. One final question for you, which we ask all of our guests on Bite Size. What is it that you are reading or listening to at the moment that's giving you inspiration?
From a work sort of orientated book, I've just finished How Big Things Get Done, which feels
apt.
Which feels apt. There's a lot of good advice in there, and some, most of it's familiar to people, and some of it isn't. The modularization is a big thing. It's well worth a read for anybody that's involved in big and complicated programs.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rob. And thank you for talking to us about how big things are getting done at Leeds Building Society in your 150th year. Happy anniversary.
Thank you
very much for joining us. This has been Bite Sized.